Let the games begin.
Mad World is a 3D beat-em-up with a lot of blood, targeted for adults on a Nintendo console exclusively, which is why it was destined to fail. This is why a Nintendo console can never do 15 or 18 plus rated games, because 85% of Nintendo Wii's and Wii U's are bought for family reasons. The only hardcore game on a Nintendo console to be commercially successful is GoldenEye 007 on the 64 because of word of mouth. I mean, it didn't sell well initially. Conker's Bad Fur Day suffered the same fate. It was an inappropriate game on a Nintendo console exclusively. Nintendo didn't want to promote it, it sold poorly, and hardly got any attention no matter how good it was. Mad World also came out in 2009, the same year as Nintendo developed games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Punch-Out!, Wii Fit Plus, Wii Sports Resort, and Retro Studios' Metroid Prime Trilogy remake. So I can't imagine Nintendo putting their marketing power on a game that has violence and profanity so high impact it got banned in Germany. In addition, many family industries, like the late National Institute on Media and the Family, expressed disappointment over Nintendo for allowing this game to be released exclusively to the Wii. I couldn't agree with them less. In today's world, every gaming system should be able to target audiences of all ages and interests, which is why I credit Nintendo for allowing Sega to release this on the Wii and the Wii only. While it may have failed commercially, it wasn't because the game sucked. Oh no, not even slightly. In fact, I'm glad this only came out on the Wii because I don't believe Mad World can be played on another console. Like, you would not want to play this game on the Kinect, for example. Mad World takes the setting of Varagan City, which is cut off from civilization by a bunch of terrorists called the Organizers. They release a virus that would kill the remaining inhabitants of the city in less than 24 hours, unless somebody kills another to receive a vaccine. A few days later, it all transforms into a brutal reality television show called Death Watch, where the remaining citizens of Varagan City, as well as some hopefuls, fight to the death hoping to be the top fighter of the competition and win a massive prize. You control Jack Kamen, who enters the games and is sponsored by, well, let's say number 13, who has actually entered the show to rescue the mayor's daughter who is stuck in Varagan City somewhere. After the game organizers find out his true intentions, instead of just killing Jack as he grows to become a fan favorite and is giving them lots of marketing revenue, they decide to just throw the highest ranked opponents at him. Jack goes through the toughest foes to rise in the rankings and do what he's told. I'm sure you get the rest. I don't want to get too carried away, or otherwise I'll just spoil everything. But what I don't mind talking about in whole are the graphics and presentation, which were the first things that got my attention. All I can say is, if Quentin Tarantino directed video games as well as movies, this really would be one of them. I mean, just look at it. Like Japanese comics combined with Sin City. It has no color except for the blood and to some degree yellow. Being that this is a channel called Color Shed, I should hate that, but no. Speaking of comic books, it also has these wacky comic book styled action descriptions like and even it's completely bonkers! In addition, it has commentators in the background.
Here comes Rin Rin, the fantastic Kung Fu Queen. Kreese, didn't the two of you have a thing a while back?
If by thing you mean a 5-minute fight that left me spitting teeth and pissing blood, yeah, then we had a thing.
At times it's hard to listen to, partly because of the music in the background.
Can make enough bank to beat on the boss. Then he can also find heavy shit on the side when he's got a little time to kill.
But mostly because I have no clue what they're on about. But it really gives you a sense that you're a contestant in a game show. The overall dialogue is also pretty funny and over the top in a good way. Always keeping the right mood, especially with the many clones of this guy. Speaking of background music, the soundtrack is awesome. All I can say is, with the combination of hip hop and rock, there's nothing to complain about. It suits the game.
Jack, show him! What's going on?
There's something about the sound of a grown man screaming in terror that just...
However, when you kill so many enemies at once, there are some mild frame rate issues. And because the game isn't in HD, it feels a little blurry, and being in high contrast black and white, it's hard to see what's going on sometimes. Obviously, it's the console's fault, not the developers. A couple of hits to the face, but not enough to knock me out. The presentation and graphics are brilliant. But if there's one thing I can't stand about video games is when they have nice graphics on the surface with terrible controls underneath. Considering this is a beat 'em up, the controls are the most important thing to work, especially if the game looks like this. At first, It takes some time. Pressing A melee attacks, holding A picks up weapons, grapples the enemy, and waving the controller throws them. May I recommend onto an oncoming train? And once the enemy is beat up enough, you can perform finishing moves pressing A or B and swinging the control in the illustrated direction. I love the finishing moves, especially on the boss battles. This one in particular.
That's what I call a finishing move.
The cowboy will not ride off into the sunset this time.
Nah, he won't even be able to sit on the horse.
And when there's an object close, you can use it on them. Whether it be fire barrels, spikes, broken signs, or all of them at once. Other movements include pressing Z to jump, which can be clunky at times and is probably used only 5 to 10% of the time. Z reorientates the camera straight, and waving the nunchuck attachment flips you out of bad situations. Pressing up on the D-pad collects items like health and 1-ups, which obviously come in handy. Jack also has a chainsaw attached to his bionic arm, which can be used for higher damage attacks and quick kills. Hold B and swing the controller to slice your enemies in half. I love when you use it, the controller makes a rusty chainsaw noise. My only gripe with the controls is that you'd think you'd be able to change the chainsaw arm to the left if you're using the controller with your left hand. You can change the controls to the preferred hand in Wii Sports, so why not this? Using the controller on your left hand while Jack is using his chainsaw on his right arm feels and looks a little confusing to watch sometimes, especially on the Mandart challenge. I always have to perform the movement of a gangster slap to swing the bat. Apart from that, it has surprisingly good controls. I mean, it may look at first like a game that has all style, no go, but it does have the go. But, like I said, it takes time, especially if you're a lefty.
Wow, you're chock full of helpful hints.
The camera angle, however, is rubbish. The first thing I notice is how low it is to a fault, and you don't have control over the camera or have an option to change the view. Come to think of it, there are hardly any options. I mean, you can't even take away the subtitles, which is usually the first thing I do in any video game.
Is this guy for real? No, don't answer that. He'll hear you on the transmitter.
But the biggest problem with Mad World has to be the game length, which is too short. Rounding up the gameplay I've recorded, it took about 8 hours to finish, and it's a very linear game. The only replayability you'll get is scoring more points, reminiscent of an Atari 2600 game. But the fun you get out of killing enemies might just make up for it. I mean, this game constantly encourages you to find so many creative ways to kill the contestants as the game progresses. I mean, shoving a rubbish bin through him, and then shoving him into a toilet bowl. How random! Shoving a tire around his body, sticking a sign through his head, then throwing him onto the train tracks, only to be hit by an oncoming train! Who would have thought that doing stuff like this could be so much fun? These kinds of killings in a video game remind me of Mortal Kombat fatalities. It's really violent, but over the top and ridiculous at the same time. Imagine performing these kills in full color and looked realistic. It would probably be more disturbing than Cannibal Holocaust. To help increase points on a level, you get these bloodbath challenges. I already mentioned Mandarts. In addition, you have Rocket Train, Terminator, Death Press, Money Shot, and many more. I should try and keep count of how many clones the organizers have this pimp.
Can't you see him? Hey, what you doing? I'm talking to the people. I'm breaking it down. Ah, God, bitch. I'm gonna pimp smack your ass when I get... Oh. Stop now! Hey. Oh, hell no! Bitch. Oh, yeah. Go. Oh, hell no! Fuck! Oh, no, God! Code.
And finally, the boss battles. Like all bosses, it's about avoiding projections and attacking at the right time. Did I mention how cool the finishes look? Even the difficulty is set just right. The tutorial surprisingly gets you in the right direction quickly. The first few levels actually give you a chance to get used to the controls, and it gets harder at the right time. To sum up, art-styled graphics and humorous story combined with new controls, high levels of punishing variety, and firm but fair difficulty. I mean, there's not much else to say. Mad World has impressed me enough to give it 8 out of 10. I would have given it higher if it was longer and left side compatible, but I urge anyone who has a Nintendo Wii to buy this game whenever you see it. Unless you're a parent. This game is fantastic.
Oh, man! Do you know what a pain in the ass it is to play those tanks?
And don't forget to watch other reviews and subscribe.